I lay there at the bottom of the stairs, dishevelled, too tired to move, and I fell into a deep sleep. It felt like I had been punched. The sleep was so deep. It felt like I was being held under water, but the dream seemed so inescapably real. I saw the little girl drawing a picture. I peered over her shoulder to see, and it was a picture of me. She turned to look at me, and with a shudder I noticed she had no eyes. The place where they should be was just deep holes, that when you peered into them, you lost yourself. They seemed so deep. It felt inextricably lost. The girl carried on with her drawing. It was then I felt a cold hand on my shoulder. I turned, and there was nothing there. Or should I say, there was no one there. But indeed, I did feel it. It was clammy like before, like wet leather, and there was an aroma. I had smelt that musky but sweet smell before when my dog had passed away. That was the smell. The smell of death. I looked around and noticed I was underground. I looked to my feet and found I had no shoes. My feet squelched in the thick, wet, black mud on the ground and up the walls. Where I was, I could not be sure. It wasn't anywhere I recognized. But then again, I did not recognize the girl either. But this was a dream. And what is there in dreams but fairy tales? And yet I knew this was not to be true. For I'd seen in my very dreams the confines of that world open up. I walked through the mud, using my hands to prop me up as the walls around me seemed to get closer, until I had to bend down to walk through the hole. Back in the back of my head, I kept thinking, for where am I being sent? But I never at any stage walked back or even wanted to. I was being drawn towards this place. It was as if I had no choice. Maybe deep down within me, I wanted to follow this direction. Slowly the world I was leaving was becoming alien to me, and the world to which I was descending was home. I ended up swimming through the pools of squelching mud, and I was covered from head to toe, but I had to enter the chamber to which I knew was my final destination. But there was nothing I could see. It was pitch dark, and it was with some trepidation that I took out a box of matches and struck it. It stayed a few seconds and went out, but in that time there was enough for me to feel my very stomach heave and throw its goods to the mud below. It was the most horrifying of moments, but I knew I had to light the match again, to throw light on it and reassure myself that what I thought I had seen was in fact a trick of the light or my imagination. So I took the match and slowly struck the side of the box. The light of the match slowly lit up the scene. My eyes looked from my feet towards the sight in front of me. I could see dead bones all rolled up into a pile like a bonfire. I could see legs and arms, heads, children, women, men, animals. Even the walls made of mud contained the remnants of human beings. As my eyes moved about this cascade of dead remains, I saw blood trickling from above. I hesitated for a moment, not wishing to look up any further, to see where this river of blood was emanating. But it was a momentary pause, and I continued in my pursuit of this horror. Above the dead bones was dead bodies writhing in pain. I could see cuts, bruises, lashes on their bodies, dismembered parts aside where they should rightly be, and their faces, oh their faces, screaming in complete agony. as they looked towards me, tears in their eyes, their hands stretching out to me. But I could not tell whether they were begging for help or whether they were trying to allure me in. With a deep breath, I looked to the top of this pile, and there on the top was the black-hooded man I had perceived in my earlier dreams, who had come to life outside my very house that last night. There he was, sitting upon this pile of dead and near to death, his hands covered in black, red, sticky blood. At once he jumped straight towards me. It seemed in a moment he was on the pile and next right up close to my face. I could feel my heart beating, but it was not my heart in the dream. This was the thudding sound of my real heart, that was whilst I was asleep was beating. It was becoming louder and louder. I could sense a pain reaching my heart, but I could not escape the dream. There in front of my very eyes was the black-hooded man. His shiny black face was right in front of me. His spindly hands came up to my face and stroked it. That was indeed that feeling of clammy wet leather. Then he took his hands to his hood and slowly removed it. And for the first time I saw that he did indeed have features. I saw his eyes, bright red. They appeared triangular in shape, but with the most deep state one could ever imagine. And they were facing straight towards me. At this moment I heard a voice, and it must have been from him. But he had no mouth that I could see move, but his words were clear and distinct. However, they did emanate from him. "Your soul is mine. Your soul is mine," it said. And with that I awoke from a sleep which had taken me from one dawn to the next, with those words repeating on my very lips, "Your soul is mine. Your soul is mine."